Hello guys, and welcome to Make Something Mondays. Today we are going to make a marshmallow fondant. I am making a cake for my mom for Mother's Day, and it will have buttercream icing because we don't eat fondant, but I want to have fondant flowers on the top. So this is how I make my fondant. I don't purchase fondant in the store because I have all these things in my house already, so I might as well just use these. Okay, let's get started. The first thing you're going to need is Crisco. Ooh, you can use the sticks also, but I buy this in such a large container because I make a lot of icing, cake icing. And surprisingly enough, for those who did not know, cake icing is made with vegetable shortening. Okay, so you will need about 1/4 a cup of vegetable shortening, which I'll go ahead and get that part together now. I do mine over the stove. You can always put this in a microwave safe bowl and melt your marshmallows in the microwave safe bowl. I do not do that. Okay? Because I don't use the microwave. I do everything on the stove. So you're going to need about 1/4 a cup of your Crisco. And I am not going to measure mine out. I'm going to eyeball it because the first step is just taking it and smearing it all around this bowl to help keep the marshmallows from sticking. I'm going to create a double boiler type system. But I wanted you guys to know that in all you're going to use about 1/4 a cup of Crisco. So if you want to have that measured out and set to the side, then you absolutely can do that. I'll take and put water into this pot and then set the bowl there into the pot. Okay? At that point, I'll pour in 16 ounces of miniature marshmallows. You can always use any brand marshmallow you want. These are Jet Puff, but I've used the cheap stuff. Works really, really fine. Just whatever's on sale. Also, another thing is this is a 10.5 ounce bag. So if you have a kitchen scale, you can weigh it out if you want to be more precise. But in all actuality, guys, this is not one of those recipes that everything has to be perfect. You can't really mess it up. If it's too sticky, you'll just be adding more powdered sugar. But you'll see what I mean as we go ahead and go along. Let me go ahead and get some water into this pot so we can start melting our marshmallows. Literally, into this bowl, the only thing you will have, aside from that Crisco, is marshmallows. And it will heat on the pot and will probably take anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes. Since I have a lot of marshmallows that I need to melt in order to make this size, I think I'll go ahead and do this directly on the heat instead of in the double boiler type method. And I'll also go a little bit faster. I wanted to tell you guys that if you are going to do this in a microwave safe bowl, again, grease the bowl like I did with the initially, and make sure it's microwave safe. And you're going to heat it from anywhere from 30 seconds to 1 whole minute. Okay? And you will check at the 30-second mark to make sure that it's melted a little bit, stir it, and then put it back in until it's melted completely. Okay, whenever you're doing this directly over the burner, you want to work as quickly as you possibly can. I'm adding 4 tablespoons of water. And you also want to cook this on a much lower setting than I just had it on. But you'll slowly add to this 4 tablespoons of water. I've added 1, so let me go ahead and drop some more in. And as you see, my marshmallows are definitely melting. And I did grease this pot with Crisco. Oops. Try not to drop it on the burner like I did. Okay. That's my 4 tablespoons of water, and I'll just keep stirring. As you can see, this melts really, really quickly, so you have to be able to move really fast. To this, you're going to add, right before you take it off, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, preferably extract. I'm doing a little bit extra because I'm not using extract. I'm actually just using the imitation. And like I said, this is trial and error. And there's really no such thing as error with this. See how smooth that is? You can also create this with marshmallow fluff, should you choose not to go through the melting process. Okay, now let's start moving to our table. Alrighty guys, so what I'm doing now is I have my cutting board, which you can do this with plastic wrap on the table if you like, but I'm going to do the cutting board this time for my own sanity. But if you put plastic wrap on the table, which I know you guys see me do this in other videos, then you just have one thing to clean. Just pick up the plastic wrap and throw it away. Okay, so here, all I'm doing is taking some of that Crisco from our 1/4 cup of Crisco and rubbing it all over my cutting board. Next step is to grab our powdered sugar. Total, you're going to use about 2 pounds of powdered sugar for this process. And I'm going to just dump the powdered sugar into the pot that holds the marshmallows. And thickening it up, it just takes a while. And you'll learn that when you're making cakes and things of that nature, you will use not only a lot of powdered sugar, but a lot of Crisco. And if it gets too thick on you too fast, feel free to add a tad bit of water, because you can always add more powdered sugar to thicken it back up if it gets too thin. I'll make sure you guys can see this. And it looks like a lumpy, gross mess after a while, and that's fine. Once it hits ball form, you're going to pour it out onto your nice greased surface. And like I said, for me, this is cheaper than buying fondant because these are items that I already have in my kitchen. And if you have marshmallow fluff in your kitchen, then you can just use marshmallow fluff. It's already essentially a melted marshmallow. But I like to use marshmallow fluff for the cream inside of cupcakes. So I prefer to melt the marshmallows to do the fondant. And this is going to take quite a bit of stirring, so I'll step away for a second so you don't have to watch all the boring mess. Okay guys, see how thick this is? I mean, it's barely good enough to stir. That's the stage you want to reach. At that point, you're going to be moving this over to your cutting board. So, or whatever your work surface is. I'm sprinkling a little bit of the powdered sugar over into my cutting board. And I'm also going to take this time to get a little of this Crisco on my fingers. And the reason why is because this stuff is super duper sticky. And this is all going to come from your 1/4 cup. Okay? Just get all nice and greased up. And now you see why I definitely like to wear gloves with this project. I like to wear gloves with all the cake projects because stuff is gross to me. I've actually gotten to the point now to where I really don't care for cake icing, period. You can just give me the cake. I'm going to have my daughter hold the pot for me. And we're going to lift it up higher, please. Over here. Let's see here. We're going to work out some of this fondant. And I forgot that quickly that I put that stuff on my hands. I'm like, why is my spatula slipping? I'm going to have my other daughter finish pulling that out for me. Well, I start sprinkling powdered sugar on top of the mixture. Quickly. And this marshmallow is so super sticky, guys. Powdered sugar. You'll use a whole bunch of powdered sugar. I buy this stuff at like Sam's or Costco, so I can, doesn't matter that I'm going to be using tons and tons. Okay. This is going to seem like as if it's way too much powdered sugar, but honestly it truly is not. And like I said, I will be using this, I'm sorry, on this process, guys, you're just kneading it, okay? There we go. I'm making a mess here. Which cake icing is pretty messy anyway, but it bugs me a lot. So you're just gonna work this in and turn this fondant into workable fondant that you can then lay onto a cake. This is not the stage that your fondant would be in if you're gonna use it to make flowers or any other kind of little decorations on top of a cake. This is not the stage that you want it to be in at all. You definitely want to keep adding, because see how loose and thin, and see how that is? Not enough powdered sugar in the sucker. You have a lot of kneading to do, so you have to keep kneading more and more. I have more fondant from my daughter, who was able to salvage a little more from the pot. Okay, that should be good. I'll just put a little bit more powdered sugar on top, because when it's, you see it starts to get sticky like that, and this is, since it's fresh marshmallow from the pot, you want more. Just pour it on top. Thank you. Because that powdered sugar is messy. I'm probably going to have on more. This is weird doing this in a sitting position, but we'll figure it out. So yeah, just this is it. You're just going to keep kneading it and kneading it and kneading it. My daughter cleaned away some of the powdered sugar mess. I know I'm going to put more down, but and I'm hoping you guys can see this. Let me have her double check and make sure we're still in the shot. Great. But just keep kneading it. Keep working it in until You don't see any more powdery look to it, and it's not like break apart easy anymore. Okay? And just keep adding powdered sugar. More and more powdered sugar will help. If you have some like big pieces of powdered sugar, like little rocks, definitely just take and mash those up really, really good. You can always sift if you prefer, but I gotta knead it anyway, so I figure why bother. But like I said, mine is not gonna go on a cake. If you've been on the Tamona's Tips Facebook page, then you've seen like one of my fondant cakes. That's marshmallow fondant that's on that cake, and I made that fondant myself and made the cake, made everything in that picture myself. And the bees that are on that cake, I'm gonna actually make a few of those for my mom's cake. Try to make sure you don't have any powdered sugar lumps. Just break those apart. But I'm gonna make some of those bees. And this stuff works really well once you let it chill also. That really helps. But I'm making the bees, and I'm also making flowers. So like at this stage, I can just add an extra ingredient and I'll have the fondant I need in order to make my flowers. But this is just basically fondant that you would put on a cake. Now keep in mind, if you're going to use this to just layer onto a cake, I don't know how to really say this without sounding really awful, but keep in mind when you're making your cakes at home that cake decorators, you'll look at cakes with fondant on it and they're nice and they're smooth and they're even. It's not too thick on this side, too thin on that side. That takes a lot of practice, and it also, you have to look at it from the viewpoint of a customer. You would love to have that, yes, but doing it at home, are you necessarily gonna have perfectly even fondant? No, you're not. And the reason why you're not is because you don't have the machine that they send the fondant through to get it nice and smooth. I'm sorry, my daughter tripped over the camera. But so don't beat yourself up because you're using, you know, hitter and quitter here. You're using your hands, righty and lefty, in order to get your fondant nice and flat, and you're rolling it out with a rolling pin, and you're kneading it, and you're doing all this stuff yourself. A lot of times big cake decorators, unless you've requested a marshmallow fondant or, you know, something like that, a lot of times they're just going and buying the fondant at the store, which you can buy fondant at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Cake Carousel, which we have here in Texas. I don't know where all Cake Carousel is, but Cake Carousel is awesome. There's also another really awesome store here called the Sales Place, and they have it. I think some Walmart and Target stores have it also because of the fact that they sell Wilton products. So you could always purchase your fondant. But if you don't want to purchase it, that is okay. Because look, now you can make it yourself. And my hands are getting sticky. But this is exactly what you want your fondant to look like. Yay. Okay. So now I am going to open up my Crisco again, and I'll scoop out a little bit of Crisco, some for my hands. And if you have hot hands, oh man, you are like a cake, you're a born cake decorator if you have hot hands sometimes, I think, because I have 2 children who have super duper hot hands, and they can really rub color into fondant within seconds. So if I want a deep color, I have one kit I use for that. I have another kit that I use for streaking the color. So Will you close that up for me? So if you have hot hands, you're going to love this. Alright, so we have our perfect, beautiful, smooth fondant, right? For storing, when it's time to store your fondant, you're going to store it in plastic wrap, either in your refrigerator or your freezer, depending on how long it'll be before you use it. Freeze as well. All you have to do is let it sit on the counter with the day that you're going to use it. Take it out early that morning, sit it on the counter, let it get back to room temperature, and you can work with it with no problem. Okay? Now, this other pat of Crisco that I have here is going to go onto my fondant. You want to oil this baby down really, really well before you put it away. Okay? I'm doing the top of it now, but I will be doing the bottom of it. And I'll just wrap it in plastic wrap. But, I mean, you could even, if you like fondant, you could taste it. You know, if that's what you want to do. I don't like fondant at all. I don't like any kind of fondant whatsoever. And I don't need my fondant to be all that tough right now. I just gave my daughter a piece of the fondant. She's like, good. So, I'll just take and roll this into a nice little ball. And I'll have it nice and greased here. And once I have it all greased all over, just take and wrap it up into some wax paper, pop it into the refrigerator, and when I'm ready to make the flowers, I'll add another ingredient to it. The next ingredient that I'm going to add, I will share with you for the next video. See, got our fondant ball all together. It's all covered in Crisco, nicely greased. Ooh, plastic wrap is so temperamental. To make sure I have it covered all over, nice and tight. But okay, so here's your fondant, and this is white fondant. So to dye it, I'm going to actually show you how to dye fondant and how to get this flower ready to like create images. I will, you know, 3D images like flowers and things like that on top of your cake. That'll be Make Something Monday for next week. For now, this is going to sit in the refrigerator. If you want to use it the same day, put it in the fridge for about an hour before you try to use this, okay? But this is it. This is Make Something Mondays, and you can now make your own marshmallow fondant. And next week, we'll be making the flowers and dyeing some fondant. So, please, come back.